looking good, Italian Job.
I'm feeling good, Tommy boy. I would say looking good, but right now all I'm seeing is a stagnant picture. I mean, which looks good, but it also looks like it was done in the winter months. So I'm assuming you are not currently wearing a woolen hat and a hooded sweatshirt and a big burly beard in what appears to be December timeframe. Am I right? Okay.
You're right. You're right. Just about everything except the time frame. But yeah.
Okay.
I believe that was in. But you're only off by a month. I believe that was January with the boys up in Boone. So
nice.
Good times. Good
nice.
times. Yeah, man. All is well. We just ended let's see. We're recording 7:00 Eastern PM. That is. And just been, I'm sorry, 8:00.
I was like, wait a minute. I'm looking at the wrong clock. 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
7:00 Central. Just finished our evening workout, back on the queue. You know, I told you last week I needed to get back out there. And so I just jumped on in and queued to work out. We picked up a stranger, turned out to have an amazing story. We EH'd him on the fly, and we've got ourselves a new man in F3 called Hustle. So
I dig it.
Story for another time, but you know the saying is always be EHing. How are you, my friend?
Headlocking. Man, I'm well. It's been a good week. You know, work has been busy, and quite honestly, I prefer it that way. But I had a chance to post in a couple of different regions down here this week. Just got back from a weekend in Baltimore, Maryland. I will tell you, we got to work on the Baltimore guys. We don't really have a whole lot of workouts in Baltimore or Towson proper on the weekend, so I didn't get to post while I was down there. But no, we had a heck of a COT this week with the guys in Fort Mill. And it was one of those things that you wish you would have recorded it and shared it with the FNG who doesn't know what he doesn't know. You know, it was just exactly what you needed. Guys opening up their hearts, guys saying, yeah, brother, I'm there. I've been there. Come along with me on the journey. So it's just been a good week, man. It has been an excellent week. It's always good to spend some time with UTB. But we've got something pretty important to talk about today. So I'll let you tee it up, and then I'll go through the Rolodex and introduce our guests.
Yeah, you actually hit the nail on the head earlier talking about the opportunity to grow in Maryland. And that's a nice segue into today's conversation. We've got a whole cast of characters, but we're here to talk about what it means and what it looks like and why we starfish. So why don't you take it away, my friend?
Yeah, man. So we have 4 guests. I'm going to go down my list that looks like Hollywood squares. So Circle gets the square. Dementia. Tell us about yourself, man. How long have you been working out with F3? What's your home region? How'd you get that name?
Yeah, Dana Mason, 41, Dementia, Fulshire, Texas, FTX region. I working out for 3 years, coming up on in October. So I guess a little early to call it 3. Got the name because I said I was 40, even though I was only 39. So when I stepped in to get a name, I quickly said I had the wrong age. And my PA, if he's listening, gave me that name, and it stuck with me. So, yeah, honored to be on. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, man. So, Dementia, I do have to ask this. Is that a common occurrence or just after a swift first beatdown where you kind of forget your age?
Yeah, not common. It's unfortunate. I work with numbers, so you would think I should have that down.
Well, glad to have you on, Dementia. I'm going to go down to my next square. I'm going to go with Rat. Now, Rat, you are a former guest of the program. Rat, for those who don't know, tell us about yourself. How did you get the name? How long have you been with F3, and what's your home region?
Yes, I was F3 born in 2018 in Holy City, Charleston, South Carolina. So I got my F3 start there. Currently, I live in the state of Washington, and I'm the Nantan for the Cascades region. So happy to be doing that. Been enjoying F3. How did I get the nickname? I attended Virginia Military Institute, and if you know anything about VMI, all the freshmen go through what's called a RAT line. It just so happened that Charleston, South Carolina is the home of our rival, the Citadel Bulldogs. So as soon as I said Jamal Walton, VMI, they said RAT. So got the name. I know in pop culture, you don't want to be labeled as a rat, but I also look at it as I call it rising above tribulation. That's what it stands for me. So happy to be on.
Glad to have you on, Mr. Keydet. So, you know, I know about some VMI guys. I'll tell you, every time we played you guys in basketball, I'd see all those guys jumping around in those white uniforms. Your basketball team was terrible, but the fans were great.
Yeah. It's mandatory. They got to go.
That's it. Hey, we got Mushu on here. I got to know about that one. Mushu, home region. How long you been doing F3, and how'd you get that name?
My home region is F3 Phoenix, Phoenix West, and I got the name. I have two daughters, and I have two bearded dragons. So they assumed I was in Disney, so I was named after the dragon from Mulan. But when I was named, I was thinking Mushu, like pork, and I had no idea. And I was like, "What?" And they kind of got on me for not knowing the dragon from Mulan. So I'm Mushu, and but I started in September 2020, and so I'm going on. So this is my second, going on 3 years as in F3.
I'll tell you what, as a girl dad, I have seen Mulan a number of times, and when you mentioned Mushu, I automatically went there because my daughter is 9 years old and she's all in on the Disney princess movies.
Right.
So yeah, that's it. Could be worse. It absolutely could be worse. I mean, you could be named Genie. So
I could be right.
So Genie,
man.
that's a question for you too, man. I'm seeing a little bit of a theme here. Genie, home region. How long have you been doing F3? How'd you get that name?
Yeah, I've been doing F3 for about 2 years plus, almost 2.5. And in the Phoenix Central region, the Nantan, that area. And boy, oh boy, just like everybody's name, possibly regrettable, right? And so I've coached high school football for all these years. Guys are throwing out great names. Obviously, with the name Genie, that didn't stick at all. And so they got frustrated and asked me, what my favorite Disney movie was. And my boy Road Rash named me. He's my maker, right? So he said right away he said Genie, and I swear it was because I was wearing a blue shirt and had a man bun, right? So yeah, at that point, that's how they come sometimes. But yeah, that's how it came, and with like any name, just gotta lean into it, baby. And so you gotta own it, and that's part of the F3 magic. Is just you're gonna complain about it. I don't want anything worse than Genie, so I'm good with Genie, man.
I mean, you called it F3 magic, so I mean, it just flows well with Genie. I mean, it works. I mean, and let's be honest, it's my favorite Disney movie. My favorite Disney movie, hands down. Aladdin's legit, man. I'm all in on that. So Tommy Boy and I were having a conversation. We talk about this quite frequently, which is that growth, and a lot of times we try to figure out where does that growth come from and how should it come about. And we've thrown this term around in F3 parlance of starfish. And Tommy Boy, when I say starfish, why do we call it starfish? What does that mean? What's the semblance of the word starfish?
Are you testing my science knowledge?
Well, I am, and I think you got it, man.
Yeah,
I believe in you, TB.
If you think about what we learned and maybe forgot in biology, when you talk about dividing and growing, multiplication through division, if one were to remove the leg of a starfish, not only does it not die, it thrives by regrowing that leg, and then that leg growing into a brand new starfish. How's that? Did I do okay?
I think that was pretty solid. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think Mushu should tell us a little bit. But Mushu, did he hit that one nail on the head, man? How do you think? Do you think he did that pretty well?
I believe 100%. I know for me and for the Phoenix region, we were at a position where we needed something. We were just getting too large, which is a good problem to have, but we needed leadership beyond that. And so when we made the decision, there was some trepidation of splitting, and do we have enough of the leadership? And since doing that, I look at me being one part, and can I do it all by myself in the West? But reality is, I'm not by myself. My leadership team was it just grew, and it after the assignments, and I just kind of stand back, and the leadership takes care of itself, and you just see it growing from there because everyone buys into to that philosophy and what F3 is to everybody, and so it kind of grows without a whole lot. We just have to kind of put the right leaders in the right places.
Mushu, when you said your region was getting too big, like what was that looking like? Was it too many guys at workouts, too many Too many
us,
too many workouts for the region. I mean, how did you know it was time?
I think for us, and Genie can talk on this too, is more the geographic. Some of the location, there is the east side is it's about an hour drive, and from east to west, it's a good maybe hour and a half. It's hard to service that big of a region, and so it was more. I mean, the numbers were there. Obviously, the numbers were getting larger, but it was more that we were growing so large on the east, and we were losing contact with them, and we were losing, and we were growing so large in the west, we were losing contact. So how do we connect everyone? And we just kind of decided maybe we should try to split. I feel, and Genie can talk on this, I feel like we're still F3 Phoenix, but the leadership and the communication is basically East, Central, and West. And I think it's been a really good opportunity for growth, and it's allowed us to just get on the same page per se.
Yeah. So Genie, when it was time to split off, were there hurt feelings, guys in Phoenix saying, "Nah, man, I don't want to lose these guys. These are my guys. I don't want this split to happen. I never see him again." How did that go down, or was it I just want to get Mushu out of here. I'm tired of seeing that guy.
Yeah.
Let's let him have a thing, and then we'll go our different ways.
It's a great question, man. First I want to make sure to give credit where credit's due, right? Like I ended up being the Nantan at Phoenix Central with this split. And so before that came Chief, who is an incredible leader there. Before that, we've had Sweater Vest, Stark, and Odin, who were all instrumental in kind of building up Phoenix in like its different phases. And so, at the time where Chief was looking to hand off Nantan duties, and there was trepidation, and I'd say probably the least from me, knowing that it started in Phoenix and Central. We had plenty of locations, and so a large part for me is making sure that Mushu and Glory, who are other two Nantans in the East and West, knew that they had my full support in that piece, right? And some dedication there as far as saying hey, we're still doing some of those things together. And so one of the things I think that helped me feel better, I know Mushu helped because we talked a lot about it, was we share our comms queue, right? We said hey, this comms queue is super important. Shout out to Huggies, right? He's just kept it all together for us. And so I think there's been that core group, those guys that those lifers, right? That said hey, we got this, we'll run the social media sites, etc. And so I think that enabled a lot more men to be able to step into some leadership positions and not feel like they were holding on to everything and responsible for so much, and really kind of just serve in that one position and enable some leadership there.
So same question going your way, Dementia. I know that Katy, Texas is the region that everyone seems to talk about. That's the one that the New York Times picks up. That's the one that it just seems that area is just exploding with growth. So when did you guys know it was time? It was time, we've reached critical mass. It's time for us to develop those leaders and branch off. How did you know?
Well, a lot of what the guys just put out there, it's just the geographical division from east to west, even for a suburb of Houston, it's probably 35-ish minutes to get from one AO to the other, but there were 20 plus AOs in between. So the SLT for Katy, again, I love the props Genie gave to those that came before him. Camo for us, who's still doing a lot with the nation, is fantastic to see. In Talladega, we were talking 18 months out that this was going to need to occur. They created these torchbearer roles, which were kind of new and not really in the SLT structure that other regions have, to kind of appoint me and get me working as a sub-region even before we made it official. So it kind of had a year of runway. But that, I think, really helped us work well together, so that I like to call it hashtag better together. We're still, like you guys are talking about, we're still doing this whole thing, defeating sad clown syndrome together. We're just doing it in a little bit more intimate forum in our new structure, in our new region.
We talk about it all the time. The mission of F3 is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men. That's not where it stops. We have the first F, the fitness. That's not where it stops. it's for the invigoration of male community leadership. And regardless of which political side of the spectrum you're on, all you have to do is look around and realize that we have some poor leadership in some high places. And so it's incumbent upon us to be those leaders, to step in and to move the needle for our communities and for those that we love and care for. So we've only heard from 3 so far, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Rad also. But what I'm hearing is you guys are saying, and you're saying all the right things, it's time for those new leaders to step up, to give them the chance to be the leaders that they were made to be. So, Rat, throwing you on the spot here, man, but same story your way, or is there a little bit more complexities that maybe we're missing that have happened in Washington State for you?
Yeah, a little different. I arrived here in 2021, and we started. I was the site Q for a new AO in Issaquah, Washington. So in April or in March, I believe, we had a convergence. And Cowboy, shout out to Cowboy, he was named the Nantan of the Puget Sound region. And then from there, we decided to break off into Kirkland, Cascades, as well as Tundra. So those are the 3 regions that have broken off. Now, Seattle had broken off a couple years before, so it has been done, the Starfish method. But one thing about Cowboy, he wasn't the Nantan for that long for the super region. So for him to be humble enough and just say like, hey, we need to break this thing up, it was really cool because it provided leadership like that. And we're a large super region, but at the end of the day, the smaller regions that have created it kind of thrusted men to start stepping up and providing leadership. But as Genie said, the Worthingtons, the Squids, the Dig Dugs, a lot of guys that were Nantans before, man. And then having Gobbler down in the South Sound, I mean, we had so much leadership and so many people that believed in what we were trying to do.
Hey, Tommy boy, you've been a part of some Starfish. You've seen regions branch off from the Greenville or Greensboro, North Carolina area. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen, what you've heard, and things that the reason you guys kind of branched off a little bit. Anything to add to what the experts on the call have shared with us?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we saw the similar pattern happening, right? You just get to be so big, and these workouts, you get this depreciating return on investment once you get so large that you can't even make it through a workout and talk to everybody. So you lose that camaraderie. And when that starts to happen on the regular, you start by busting up your workouts and finding new places to be, which means you're in new neighborhoods and therefore around new men to reach. But then when that keeps happening, there comes a time and a place, right? We realized that we have created this giant gap in between us and several of the towns to the north. So we put it on our radar that we were going to Starfish. We found the next guy up to lead that region. Who when he stepped in to lead, a bunch of guys jump up to follow. And so that was an easy pick on our part. Shout out to TPS up in Northern Alliance. And, there's trepidations like you mentioned, and you get past those because you realize, holy cow, I just met 50 new guys in 2 weeks that had never heard of F3. And now I'd lie down in traffic for them, right? And so, if you want to see a guy and you feel like you're not seeing him, hop in the car and make a commitment to that guy to go visit their region. It's just more cool faces to see, more impact to have, and more growth to experience.
It seems counterintuitive to say addition by division, but that's exactly what it is. I mean, if we stay just in our communities with the guys that we know, I mean, let's be honest, I feel like I've exhausted my Rolodex. I mean, it's almost like, how do you know when someone's a vegan? They tell you in the first 5 minutes. Well, how do you know somebody's an F3? Well, let me tell you, as a matter of fact, I'll pick you up on Tuesday. That's just how it works. So the question I have for you guys, because every one of the guys on this call have been a part of this. So lessons learned, things that you learn that can help another region. If another region is looking at it right now and thinking it's probably time. And if you're wondering if it's probably time, it is time. It is absolutely time to go that route. So I'll go through my list again and say, Dementia, what'd you learn? Lessons good and bad that could help some other guys who are thinking about branching off and starting their own.
Yeah, I think the main lesson we learned pretty early on is just with so many packs, especially on our social media, kind of our communication tool, you get watered down. So even our second F events started to get watered down. People might just be meeting new people all the time. So I think the real thing we wanted to create was that intimacy. And we knew that as we went through it, we worked really close with the regional leadership teams to say, hey, this is when we're setting up our own kind of band. We're using band. I know the regions on a lot of the nations on Slack, but we're setting it up here. Don't be offended if all of a sudden a whole bunch of packs are moving off. And we just really had to communicate well. I think if I'd say something we're still learning and working through is there is still the need for people feel like they want to invite everybody to everything still, like we are still in the old structure. So every now and again, we're pushing back a little like, hey, people can still go there. Obviously, it's free to go everywhere. But we don't want to just recreate our issues on our different platforms now. We want to create the intimacy. So I'd say that's the thing we're still working toward, but it's definitely worked to have a more intimate group, and we're growing as a result.
Mushu, same question, man. What kind of lessons have you learned that can help these guys, or some of the you know where the bodies are buried? So,
Right.
what have you learned that you could share?
I would say one of the lessons, and it's we knew it going in, but when we branched off to Buckeye, and you need to have about like a 15-mile. I feel like 15-mile or 15-minute. You need to be 15 minutes from the nearest AO when you expand. And we have with Buckeye it's about 50-minute drive. So you need to be close enough to be able to when we do expand to allow just the ability for others to support you as you're gathering more people at a certain AO. Within the West region, we have like there are a ton of ideas there, a ton of areas where we can expand. But one of the challenges that we're facing is that we do another AO, but then it's being supported by the same group as before, and so you have to be careful. I have to be careful about putting too much on the core group that we have, because I don't want to make it to where they are overburdened. So and then to have them have it be okay if it does take a while to build that momentum with people showing up. So we do have a very solid core unit, and we do want to branch out, and we do have we're very, very motivated to branch out, but we have to do it. It takes time, and we have to I have to make sure that I'm not putting too much on the packs.
It makes perfect sense. I was watching the video, and for those who are listening, we put all this stuff, the podcasts are on your audio function, but we also have a YouTube channel where you can watch stuff. And those who were not watching, you missed Genie and Rat shaking their heads vigorously in a yes motion, not putting too much on the pack. So Genie, same question, man. Some of the lessons you learned. I know that, we've seen Mushu Mushu went in a different direction. So from the other side, losing these guys, so to speak, because somebody in your region, I'm sure, said, I don't want to lose those guys. What kind of lessons did you learn being the Nantan of the region that kind of spun off another region?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm going to answer with lessons, but also like some of these things are just really helpful in lessons. So one of them for me, perhaps I take things too seriously. I know it's free and I'm not getting paid, but I treated it like a job, man. I said, hey, I remember I'd sent a picture to Mushu. I said, this is my plan for the next 30, 60, 90 days. And that first 30 was all about interviewing all of the guys I thought the packs that were the most influential in F3 Phoenix. Learning as much as I could about the history of it, seeing where we've goofed up, et cetera. And so I think that that and the constant communication early, all right, was really helpful to kind of make sure that we still felt connected and appreciated. And, ultimately we have high impact men in all the regions. And so, yeah, we still share some things, but I think like guys like Moonshot, for example, he does a great job at still getting to like an AO once a week. That's outside of his region, right? Like this dude's just on it. And when I think about that first month of just interviewing before he built the SLT, and just like the consult with Genie, the past Nantan chief, and Mushu, you know, we made a decision together, which we didn't have to, but we said we're going to make our SLTs and we're going to keep them small, right? Like there are plenty of leadership positions, but we said we're having a first, second, and third F, and you work with those guys, right? And in particular for Mushu, who had the smallest of the regions, right? I felt like that kind of created some leadership there, and then that helped us to kind of discuss expectations. And the funny thing about you know, the whole Starfish, right, is it's kind of silly. Like you just all of a sudden say, hey, now you're first step. It's crazy how guys step up, right? It's crazy. All of a sudden the guys I put in my SLT are like all of my best EHers.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. They weren't
before.
Yeah, or something like that. But like it just invigorates men to be able to do some different things. And we've seen that, like all of a sudden I had like 3 more AOs sprout up. Like I thought, man, I'm losing guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this isn't gonna last or whatever sort of thing. And all it did is just create space for other guys to lead. And yeah, the same thing Mushu talked about with Buckeye, right? So those are some of the things just kind of coming from, let's say, like the mothership sort of piece, where I had trepidation too, saying like there's a lot of pride, like coming and having 20 plus guys at AO. And I still think Rat said it earlier about just having like the convergences and still being able to celebrate each other that way. And that was the challenge to the group. And ultimately, you know, signing up for those things and taking a leadership position is a lot of pressure. And one of the things that, you know, we say around here, stealing from Billie Jean King, pressure is privilege, right? Mm-hmm. Pressure is privilege. And so we try to reframe that pressure sometimes of Starfish, and just saying like, what privilege do we have to be able to share this gift with other men?
Who's got it better than us, Tommy boy?
Nobody.
So
hey,
Rat,
fellas, as we hang
on, TB. I didn't give Rat a chance. I mean, Rat was shaking his head. He's got stuff to say. I can see it. Rat, same thing, man. I don't want to leave you out. You know, what kind of lessons, what kind of things did you learn in this split?
Yeah. First and foremost, you know, anyone stepping into the Nantan role from like an expansion, just talk to the other brothers that have been a part of it. Coming from Holy City, Charleston, I reached out to Michael Bolton, reached out to Vila, you know, those guys, talked to Garfield in the South Sound. So first off, I think that's always good, you know, realizing men have been before you, reaching out to them. I'm a big structured guy, so we developed some guiding principles. Quality, you know, can we consistently do this at a high level? Collaboration, you know, we looking at everything from a viewpoint. And then the positive impact. Is it making a positive impact in the Cascades region? So for us, that's what we always go back to. And when it comes to us starting off, the guys probably thought I was crazy, but we did a convergence in like 2 weeks because I wanted us to get some small wins. So we had the Cascades convergence. We had about 50 high impact men that came out there. We did it at OTB, which is Klahani. The reason why we did it there because Klahani was actually AO that we moved to OTB. But I wanted to showcase that location and also let the brothers know that we moved to OTB, that we're here to support them, because we had to have some hard conversations about why we were moving it to OTB. But now Klahani is in a position where we're ready to launch them soon. So I think those are some things we learned. Some things I wish I would have done different. Knowing that we were going to Starfish, I think it would have been great if we would have probably sat down. All of those Nantans talked about funding, talked about Slack and resources and, you know, just certain things that may happen within the region, and just make sure we were on the same page. I figured we always came back together, but it probably would have been a little smoother if we would have went that route. And then the last thing I'll say is being free to lead. One of the guys, his name is Pop Up. He likes to ruck. And even though we don't have a rucking culture, you know what? Let's do a pre-ruck. Let's add that in. Let's get everybody a taste of that. One of our other brothers, Radar. This guy is just full of energy, full of creativity. He's always thinking of new ways to do exocon exercises. So when you find those guys and they're on fire, give them the opportunity to be great. So those are just a couple things that we did. And then as far as our SLT, we're a little larger, but it is also one of those things. I think we're a little large because I really just wanted to put as much leadership in our SLT because we're a smaller region when you look at it, and that's been really, big from a contribution standpoint. But yeah, those are just a few things.
Tommy boy, I'm going to hand the microphone to you now because I know you got something to say.
Well, Rat teed it up perfectly. I just, as guys listen, obviously they know that they can reach out to anybody on this call for first steps. But at the same time, there's great tools on the national level as well, right? So if anybody just wants to kind of give some pointers to who you leaned on when it comes to the national SLT, and any final advice on anybody who may be sitting in the back wings thinking about moving and growing, but they're not doing it yet. So what's that resource they have nationally? And what final thoughts do you have to light that fire?
Yeah. Is that to us?
That's open-ended. Anybody
can
take
yeah,
that.
Yeah. I'll say this. Stuff worth trying, the resources that are available, use it, guys. There's no way, brothers, you can say that you don't have any help. It is out there. You can easily download those, put them in Slack, and it's all there for you, So I would definitely use that. I've been down in downrange with Mushu and his team and his, the brothers down there. The more you go around, the more you meet brothers, the more you learn about how you can add or incorporate things into F3. So, make sure you share these opportunities. We have Slack. So on the nation Slack, if you have a great idea, share it. Don't hold it, man. It's so many brothers out there that need it. So let's be free to lead. Let's give it away. And then the last thing I would say is community. Like in our area, in our community, there's a lot of people that need our help, that need help. So don't be afraid to go in and talk about F3 to your businesses, to the cafeterias that you go to the restaurants that you go to, because they may need you in so many ways. So just keep in mind, there's some, I call it incremental can be monumental. So even though it's small, it can be monumental over time.
Well said.
Hey, Tommy boy, if you ever need to replace me on this show, please call Rat. This guy, I'm writing stuff down that should be on T-shirts.
You got it, brother. Now you killing it, Italian job.
I'm about to walk into a tattoo parlor right now and get that on my forearm.
Incremental can be monumental. I love it.
That sounds a lot better than I'm a grower, not a shower.
I was in the pool.
Well, fellas, listen, we appreciate you carving out the time, especially literally across the coast. And Rat, you hit the nail on the head, man. There are so many people out there that need help. A couple weeks, and that's inside and outside of the packs, right? The video of the server or the employee at a Panera, I can't remember the region, but
that was in Hoover, Alabama, just outside of Birmingham.
Thank you, sir. That's right, the Birmingham boys, and suffered a great loss. The guy stepped up to fill a need there. Anywhere and everywhere you look, somebody's hurting and could use a helping hand, and that's what this is all about. So find a way to grow, reach more men, and change more lives. It's as simple as that. The expansion team is standing by to help out with anything. Rat, thanks for the Stuff Worth Trying website plug. Your check's in the mail, brother. It's twice as much as you're making as being a Nantan, so you're welcome.
And if I may, Tommy boy and Italian job, I'm sure I can speak for Mushu and Genie. Thank you guys for this. 100%. And thank you guys for what y'all are doing, man, because every day I drive in about 25 minutes, I'm putting on the podcast and I'm learning something every day, man. So appreciate y'all. I know this takes a lot of effort, but there's a lot of brothers that appreciate it. So thank y'all for what y'all do for the nation.
Brother, so much appreciation on our end. Honored. I'm absolutely honored to get this opportunity to talk to men like the guys we talked to today, Dementia, who had to drop a little bit earlier, Rat, Mushu, Genie, Tommy boy, I mean, you guys are studs. I mean, we're better together. We learn from each other. That's the only way we're going to be better. Tommy boy, we went a little bit long on this one, but there's a lot of great content, a lot of stuff to cover. And I'll leave you with this thought. You didn't ask for it, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because it lines up with this message. Everything you want is on the other side of your fear. So whatever that thing is, if it's the job that you or the new opportunities in work, or maybe it's that lady you considered asking out years ago, or maybe it's starting a new business venture, or maybe it's starting a new region, or maybe if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. You have to push past your fear to get the outcome you desire. For those guys who are listening and wondering, is it time? I don't know if I'm the guy. I don't know if we're ready. You got to get past that, because the growth happens on that uncomfortable level, but you got to get past your fear first to get to the other side. The things that you want are on the other side of the thing that you fear. Tommy boy, it's been an honor and a joy once again to spend time with you and the men around the nation. Anything you got to say before we close her out?
There are no tangents. If you find yourself wondering, should I be doing this? It's because the universe is tapping you on the shoulder. So like you said, Ajay, get after it. Fellas, thanks again. Podpaxers, as always, be good or be good at it.
Appreciate you, man.